The night sky over the desert was quiet, dark and endless. Only the soft wind moved the sand. Commander Ethan Cross stood on the watchtower of Outpost 47 looking up at the stars. He had always loved the silence of the night. It reminded him that war for a short moment could rest. Ethan had been a soldier for most of his life. He had seen cities fall, friends die, and dreams turn to ashes. After losing his wife and daughter in a city attack years ago, he had learned to live without hope. His eyes were tired, his heart heavier than his weapon. He didn't smile anymore. But that night, something broke the silence. A bright flash tore across the sky, cutting through the stars like fire on glass. It was fast, too fast for any aircraft. A roaring sound followed, deep and thunderous, shaking the ground beneath the base. The sirens screamed and red lights flashed across the walls. Unidentified object entering atmosphere. The control tower shouted through the speakers. Ethan grabbed his rifle and ran down the metal stairs. The air outside was burning hot, filled with the smell of smoke and dust. He jumped into a jeep with 2 soldiers and sped toward the impact site. Far ahead, a column of fire rose from behind the sand dunes. The desert glowed red, like the sun had fallen to earth. When they reached the crash, Ethan froze. The object wasn't a missile, and it wasn't a human ship either. It was a twisted silver sphere half buried in the sand. Strange blue lights blinked along its surface, and faint whispers came from inside like voices trapped in air. "Sir, is that alien?" one soldier whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He moved closer, slowly. The metal of the sphere was warm and soft, almost alive. He pressed his hand on it, and suddenly the sphere opened like a blooming flower. Inside was a small figure. A girl. She looked no older than 6, with pale skin and silver-white hair that shimmered under the firelight. Her eyes were large, glowing faintly blue like liquid stars. She was trembling, clutching a small cube to her chest. Ethan lowered his weapon. "It's a child." The girl looked up at him, eyes wide with fear. Then, in a voice weak but clear, she whispered one word that froze everyone. "Daddy." The soldier stared, shocked. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He stepped closer. "What did you say?" The girl's lips trembled. "Daddy," she said again, reaching out her small hand. Before he could react, she collapsed forward. Ethan caught her in his arms. Her skin was cold, but her heart was beating fast, glowing light pulsing through her veins. "Get the med team here," he shouted. They rushed back to base with the girl in a containment pod. The scientists gathered instantly, surrounding her with scanners and strange tools. "She's not human," one whispered. "Her DNA is mixed. Half organic, half energy-based life form," another said, staring at the glowing veins. "Impossible." Ethan stood behind the glass, watching as the girl lay on the medical bed. She looked peaceful, almost human when she slept. But when the lights flickered, the monitors around her reacted, sparking with energy. Dr. Hale, the lead scientist, frowned. "Commander, she keeps calling for you. You must have triggered something in her." Ethan crossed his arms. "She called me Daddy, but I've never seen her before." Hale sighed. "Maybe she's confused. Or maybe..." He hesitated. "Maybe she was programmed to find someone like you." Ethan didn't like the sound of that. Programmed. Before Hale could answer, the light suddenly went out. The alarms howled again. The girl's eyes opened wide, glowing bright blue in the dark. Ethan rushed inside the room. "What's happening?" The machine sparked, and the air crackled with strange energy. The girl sat up, her hands shaking. "Daddy." "They're coming," she whispered. "Who's coming?" Ethan asked, kneeling beside her. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they weren't normal tears. They glowed like tiny crystals. She grabbed his hand tightly, and he felt something rush into him, like a pulse of lightning and warmth. Every screen in the room turned white. The scientists shouted, but Ethan couldn't hear them anymore. All he could hear was a voice inside his head. Her voice. "Please don't let them take me again," and then everything went dark. When the power came back, the girl had fainted again. Ethan was on his knees, his hand still glowing faintly where she had touched him. Dr. Hale looked shocked. "Commander? Your pulse, your readings, they match hers." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He looked at the small alien girl sleeping peacefully. Her hand still holding his. She had called him Daddy. And somehow in that strange moment, Ethan felt something inside him move. Something he thought was long dead. Hope. The sun rose over the desert like a slow-burning flame, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. The base was quiet now. The wreckage of the strange ship still smoked on the horizon, guarded by soldiers who spoke in whispers. No one could forget what they had seen that night. Inside the medical lab, the small alien girl lay asleep in a glass chamber. Tubes and monitors surrounded her, showing waves of light instead of normal heartbeats. She looked peaceful, almost human, but her silver eyes glowed even when closed. Commander Ethan Cross stood behind the glass, watching her. He hadn't slept all night. The word she had said still echoed in his mind, Daddy. He had promised himself he would never get attached again. But something about her stirred something deep in his chest. It wasn't logic. It wasn't duty. It was something older, something like love. Dr. Hale entered the room with a data pad. She's stable. Her body is healing faster than anything I've ever seen. But she doesn't respond to anyone except you. Ethan frowned. Why me? Hale shrugged. We ran tests. Her brainwaves synchronize with yours when you're near. It's like she recognizes you at a level we can't understand. Ethan looked at the girl again. Maybe she's scared. Maybe, Hale said softly. But Commander, there's something else. He handed over the pad. The symbols we found inside her ship. They match the old Orion signals from 20 years ago. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Those were wiped out during the first contact war. Exactly, Hale said. But if this girl survived, maybe not all of them died. The thought sent a chill down Ethan's spine. When the girl woke up, she didn't speak. She just looked around with her glowing eyes, watching the humans through the glass. Every time a soldier came close, she curled up and covered her face. But when Ethan entered, she sat up instantly. Her small fingers touched the glass wall between them. Ethan knelt down on the other side and did the same. Can you hear me? He asked gently. She nodded slowly. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then faintly she whispered, Daddy. Ethan sighed softly. I'm not your daddy, little one. But I'll help you, okay? The girl tilted her head, not fully understanding. She pressed her hand against the glass again. A spark of blue light appeared where their hands met. The glass vibrated, and suddenly the speakers around the lab filled with a soft hum, like a song, gentle and sad. Dr. Hale gasped. She's communicating through energy frequencies. That's not speech, that's emotion. Ethan didn't understand the science, but he understood the feeling. He could feel what she was trying to say. Fear, pain, loneliness. He looked at her and said softly, You're safe now. The hum slowed. The light around her hand faded. For the first time she smiled, a small, uncertain smile. Over the next few days, Ethan spent hours with her. The soldiers called her the silent child. She never spoke much, but she copied what she saw. When Ethan folded his hands, she did the same. When he drew a small picture of a flower on the table, she stared at it, then made it bloom with her energy. One evening, Ethan brought her a small stuffed bear from his old locker, his daughter's toy. The girl held it close to her chest, her silver eyes softening. Warm, she said quietly. Ethan smiled a little. That's right, warm. It was the first normal word she had said. But as the bond grew stronger, strange things began to happen. Lights flickered whenever she laughed. Machines turned on when she cried. Her emotions seemed to control energy around her. The scientists were amazed but also afraid. One night, while Ethan was watching her sleep, she suddenly woke up gasping. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever before. He rushed to her side. What's wrong? She pointed at the ceiling, her voice shaking. They found us. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, alarms blared through the base. Red lights flashed. The radar screen showed multiple fast-moving objects descending from orbit. Dr. Hale's voice shouted through the intercom. Commander, unknown ships entering atmosphere. Same energy signature as her pod. Ethan looked down at the terrified girl. She clutched his hand tightly, her body trembling. Don't let them take me, Daddy, she whispered, tears glowing like tiny stars. Ethan tightened his grip. I won't. Outside, the desert sky began to burn again, and this time they were not alone. The night came heavy and red. Clouds glowed from the fire above as thunder rolled without rain. The desert air was charged, humming, alive, as if the sky itself was breathing. Commander Ethan Cross stood outside the command center staring at the heavens. The alien girl Lyra was inside the bunker below, hidden behind layers of steel and sand. He could still feel her fear inside his mind like a heartbeat that wasn't his. Dr. Hale ran toward him, breathless. "They're here," he said. 5 ships. No human design. They're surrounding the base. Ethan didn't move. His voice was calm but low. "Any communication?" "They sent a signal," Hale replied. One word translated, "return." The word echoed in Ethan's ears. He looked up, and there, breaking through the clouds, were 5 black silhouettes shaped like blades, glowing with blue fire. They didn't roar like human ships, they sang, a deep, haunting vibration that made the ground tremble. The soldiers on the walls stared, whispering prayers. The lights across the base flickered again, the same way they did when Lyra cried. Ethan turned toward the bunker. She knows they're here. Inside, Lyra sat on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest. The small stuffed bear Ethan had given her lay beside her. Her silver eyes flickered like candlelight. "Daddy," she whispered without looking up. "They found me." Ethan knelt beside her. "Who are they, Lyra? Why do they want you?" She hesitated, her voice shaking. "They are my people, but not like me. I was made different. I wasn't supposed to exist." "What do you mean?" he asked softly. Lyra's eyes filled with light. "I was born from 2 worlds, half energy, half flesh. They fear me. They say I can break the balance." Ethan placed his hand on her shoulder. "You're not a weapon. You're a child." Lyra looked up at him. "You don't understand. If they take me back, everyone here will die." Before Ethan could answer, a deep rumble shook the ground. Sirens screamed across the base. A bright blue beam of light struck the sand outside, melting it into glass. The air filled with static and dust. "Commander!" Dr. Hale's voice echoed through the radio. "Energy weapons. They're targeting the defense grid." Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Stay close to me, no matter what happens." She nodded, her small fingers glowing against his. The sky turned white as the alien ships opened fire. The base's turrets answered with missiles, but they were too slow. One explosion after another lit the desert, tearing through metal and stone. Ethan ran through the chaos, carrying Lyra in his arms. Soldiers shouted and fired at shapes in the smoke. Tall figures made of light and shadow, walking through walls as if they were air. A bright spear of energy struck near Ethan, throwing him to the ground. Pain burned through his side. Blood stained his uniform. Lyra screamed and reached for him. Her tears glowed as they fell on his wound, and the bleeding stopped. The pain vanished. Ethan gasped as blue light crawled across his skin, sealing the injury. She looked at him, her voice trembling. "You have my blood now. You can protect me." Ethan stared at his arm. His veins pulsed with faint silver light. "What did you do?" Lyra took his hand. "I shared life," the radio crackled. "Commander Cross, we're being overrun. Orders?" Ethan looked out across the burning base. His men were falling back. The alien figures were closing in, their armor shimmering like water. He pressed the radio. "Fall back to the canyon. Protect the civilians. I'll hold them off." Dr. Hale's voice shouted, "Ethan, you can't." But Ethan was already moving. He lifted his rifle and stood between Lyra and the enemy. The nearest alien raised its weapon, but before it could fire, Ethan raised his hand. A blast of blue energy shot from his palm, slamming into the creature and sending it flying. He stared at his hand, shocked. The same light that burned in Lyra's eyes now burned in him. Lyra whispered, "You are one of us now." More aliens descended. The ground shook. Ethan stood firm, energy swirling around him. Protecting the girl behind him, the alien leader stepped through the smoke, tall, with eyes like black stars and armor that shimmered like liquid metal. "You are not her father," the creature said in a cold, echoing voice. "But you will die like him." Ethan didn't flinch. "Maybe. But I'll die human, protecting my daughter." Lyra clung to him, her eyes wide with tears and light. The alien leader raised his weapon, and in that instant the desert sky exploded with a storm of light. The storm over the desert did not fade. It grew. Lightning twisted through the smoke like veins of fire, striking sand and turning it into glass. The alien ships hovered above the chaos, their blue lights cutting through the darkness. Commander Ethan Cross stood in the center of the burning base, holding the alien child close to his chest. His heartbeat no longer felt like his own. It was faster, louder, mixed with a strange rhythm that pulsed with blue light under his skin. Lyra looked up at him, her small face pale. "You can feel it now, can't you?" she whispered. Ethan nodded slowly. "Whatever you did to me, it changed something inside." "It didn't change you," Lyra said softly. "It woke you up." The alien soldiers marched through the fire, moving in silence. Their armor shimmered like glass, their weapons humming with light. But Ethan didn't run. He placed Lyra behind a wrecked jeep and raised his hand. A ripple of blue energy burst from his palm, exploding across the sand and sending the attackers flying. The air burned with power, his power. Dr. Hale's voice came through the damaged radio, filled with disbelief. "Ethan, what was that?" "I don't know," Ethan said, panting. "But it's keeping us alive." Lyra stepped beside him, her small hand glowing brighter. Together their light merged. 2 heartbeats, 1 rhythm. The aliens fired again, but their shots dissolved before reaching them. The energy around Ethan shimmered like a living shield. Lyra's voice trembled. "They can't touch you now. You are part of the bond." Ethan looked down at her. "The bond?" She nodded. "It's what connects us, human and spirit. You're the first one who didn't reject it." "Reject it?" he asked. Lyra's voice grew soft, sad. "Long ago, your kind tried to join with mine, but it broke them. Their hearts couldn't carry both lights. You're different." Ethan's throat tightened. "Why me?" "Because," she whispered, "you lost everything. An empty heart has room for something new." Her words hit him like a blade. For the first time in years, he felt tears behind his eyes. Not from pain, but from truth. As the fighting slowed, Ethan and Lyra escaped through the back gate, heading toward the desert canyon. Behind them, Outpost 47 burned like a dying star. Dr. Hale's voice cracked over the comms. "Ethan, where are you going?" "You can't take her." "I'm not taking her," Ethan said. "I'm saving her," Static answered. The desert stretched endless before them, a cold wind, broken metal, and starlight. Lyra walked beside him, barefoot, leaving glowing footprints in the sand. "Where will we go now?" she asked. "Somewhere they can't find you," Ethan said. "Maybe there's still a safe zone to the north." Lyra stopped. "They will always find me. They follow the energy. Then I'll fight them," Ethan said. "Until my last breath." Lyra stared at him quietly. "You remind me of him." "Who?" Ethan asked. "My real father," she said. "He was human too." "Long ago," Ethan froze. "Your father was human?" Lyra nodded. "He came from your world before the First War. He loved my mother, the Queen. But their bond was forbidden. When I was born, their people called me a mistake. He tried to protect me, but they killed him." Ethan clenched his fists. "So that's why they're here. To finish what they started." Lyra looked down. "They said no world should hold both lights. But you do. You're proof they were wrong." The ground began to shake again. In the distance, the alien leader appeared. Walking through the smoke, his armor cracked but glowing stronger than before. "You can't run, human." The leader's voice echoed through the air. "The bond between you and the child breaks our law. You will die." Ethan turned to Lyra. "Stay behind me." He raised his hand and blue light surged from his palm like a wave. The alien leader blocked it with a single motion, sending the energy back in a flash that tore through the sand. Ethan was thrown to the ground. He coughed, his chest burning, his hand trembling with raw power. Lyra screamed and ran to him. The alien leader aimed his weapon. "You are not her father," he said coldly. "You are an infection." Ethan looked up, blood on his lips, and smiled faintly. "Maybe. But this infection fights back." He grabbed Lyra's hand. Their energy fused, blue and white spiraling together like stars colliding. The shockwave blasted outward, lighting the desert sky. When the light faded, the alien army was gone, scattered like dust in the wind. Ethan collapsed, exhausted. Lyra knelt beside him, her eyes full of light and tears. "You can't keep using the bond like this," she whispered. "It's hurting you." Ethan smiled weakly. "If it keeps you safe, it's worth it." The desert wind carried the smell of burnt sand and rain. The night was quiet again. But Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere far above, more ships were coming, and now both human and alien worlds would come to know the name Ethan Cross. Silence filled the desert after the storm of light faded. The sand still glowed faintly where the energy had struck. Commander Ethan Cross lay weak on the ground, his breath shallow. Lyra knelt beside him, her small hands glowing softly as she tried to heal him again. "It's no use," she whispered. tears slipping down her cheeks. Your body is too human. It can't hold the bond much longer. Ethan smiled faintly, his face pale. You worry too much, kid. I've survived worse. But deep inside, he knew something was changing. His heartbeat was uneven, and every time Lyra touched him, he felt more of her energy burning through his veins. He wasn't just human anymore, and he wasn't sure what he was becoming. Before they could rest, the ground beneath them trembled again. A shadow fell over the desert as a ship descended silently from the clouds, massive, black, and shaped like a living creature. Lyra gasped. It's them. The High Command. Ethan stood slowly, gripping his rifle even though he knew it wouldn't matter. Then let's end this. A blinding light swallowed them. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he was floating. Metal walls surrounded him, glowing faintly blue. He was trapped in a transparent cell. Across from him, Lyra was locked in another chamber, surrounded by energy fields that shimmered like water. Lyra, he shouted. She turned her head weakly. They took the bond out of sync. I can't feel you anymore. Ethan slammed his hands against the glass. Don't worry, I'll find a way out. A calm, cold voice spoke behind him. You won't, Ethan turned. The alien leader, taller than before, his armor now cracked but glowing, stepped forward. His face was sharp, his eyes like pools of darkness. Human, the leader said, you should not exist. You carry a light that belongs only to the children of the stars. Ethan clenched his fists. If that light saves her, then it's mine to keep. The leader tilted his head slightly, studying him. You don't even know what she is, do you? Ethan glared. I know she's a child who deserves to live. She is more than that, the leader replied. She is the last creation of a traitor, your kind. A human scientist who loved our queen and broke the sacred bond. His name was Elias Cross. Ethan froze. Cross? Yes, the alien continued. Your ancestor. Your blood carries his signature. That is why she called to you. That is why the bond accepted you. The room went silent. Ethan's heart pounded. So it was true. Lyra's father had been human. His own bloodline was tied to the stars. The alien's tone grew darker. He betrayed both worlds for love. And for that love, he died. Just as you will. Ethan looked toward Lyra's cell. She was crying silently, the energy around her flickering like a dying flame. Stop, Ethan shouted. She's just a child. She is a weapon, the leader said. Her heart contains the energy to shatter worlds. If she loses control, your planet will burn. Ethan's voice softened. Then teach her to control it. Don't destroy her. The alien's expression didn't change. She cannot control what she is. Ethan took a slow breath, his eyes narrowing. You're wrong. Hours passed in silence. Ethan sat against the wall of his cell, his head spinning. He remembered the way Lyra had looked at him when she said Daddy for the first time. The way she smiled when she held the small bear. She wasn't a weapon. She was life. He closed his eyes. Elias Cross, he whispered to himself. If you really were my blood, then I'll finish what you started. He placed his hand against the glowing wall of his cell. The faint blue light from his veins spread outward, merging with the energy field. Sparks jumped, flickering like tiny stars. The hum of the ship changed. Across the room, Lyra's eyes opened wide. Daddy, on your light. It's changing. Ethan's body trembled as the bond reconnected. He could feel her heart again, and her fear. He stood tall, the energy bursting through the glass like a wave. The alarm screamed. The walls cracked, then shattered in a flash of light. The alien guards rushed in, but Ethan moved faster. His steps left trails of blue fire. He tore open Lyra's chamber and pulled her into his arms. Her voice was shaking. You'll die if you keep using the bond like this. Ethan smiled weakly. I made a promise, remember? What promise? She asked through tears. He looked at her, eyes glowing faintly silver. That I'd never let anyone take you away again. The ship shook violently as explosions ripped through the halls. Dr. Hale's last transmission from the ground echoed faintly in Ethan's ear. If they take you up there, bring her home. No matter what. Ethan ran toward the escape bay, carrying Lyra as the corridors collapsed around them. The alien leader's voice echoed through the ship. You cannot save her, human. The bond will consume you both. Ethan turned once, eyes burning with light. Then let it. He slammed his hand against the control panel, opening the airlock. The stars stretched before them, endless and cold. He held Lyra close. Hold on, kid, the two of them jumped. The stars fell around them like burning snow. Ethan and Lyra spun through the dark sky, held together by a thin shield of blue energy. The alien mothership behind them was breaking apart, burning, twisting, falling toward the planet below. Wind screamed as they hit the upper atmosphere. The heat flared around them, golden and red. Lyra's small hands gripped Ethan's chest, her eyes glowing like twin suns. "Daddy, the air, it's too strong," she cried. Ethan wrapped his arms tighter around her. "Don't let go, Lyra."
"Just hold on."
Her light flared, surrounding them both in a shimmering bubble. The fire outside turned to soft blue. They crashed through the clouds, breaking the night apart, leaving behind a trail of light, like two stars falling hand in hand. Below, the desert waited. The impact shook the earth. A great wave of sand and wind rolled across the ruins of Outpost 47. When the dust settled, a crater smoked where they landed. Ethan lay still, armor-torn, body broken. Lyra crawled beside him, weak but alive. "Daddy," she whispered, shaking him. "Wake up." Ethan groaned and opened his eyes slowly. His body ached, but somehow he was still alive. The blue veins across his arm flickered faintly. He smiled through the pain. "Guess we made it." Lyra hugged him, tears glowing on her cheeks. "You fell from the sky for me again." He chuckled softly. "And I'd do it again." But peace never lasted long. The air around them began to hum. In the distance, pieces of the alien mothership were still falling, and among the flames, dark figures were moving. Survivors. Lyra's expression turned to fear. "They're coming." "The high command won't stop." Ethan stood slowly, pain stabbing through his side. "Then we finish this here." He looked around the wreckage and found Dr. Hale's old communication beacon half buried in sand. It flickered weakly with a red light. He picked it up and pressed a button. "Base Command, this is Commander Cross," he said hoarsely. "If anyone's left, stay away from the crash zone." "This isn't your fight anymore," Static answered. Then silence. Ethan turned to Lyra. "If this ends here, we end it together." Lyra shook her head. "No, you'll die. The bond is eating you from inside." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then I'll die protecting you. That's all that matters." The survivors appeared through the fire, tall, armored beings with black glass skin and burning eyes. The alien leader was among them, his armor cracked, half his mask gone, revealing a face twisted by pain and fury. He looked at Ethan and shouted, "You should have let the stars consume you, human. The bond is a curse." Ethan stepped forward. "Maybe, but this curse gave me something your kind will never understand." "And what is that?" The leader hissed. Ethan's voice was steady. "Love." The leader roared and raised his weapon. Bolts of energy lit the desert, striking the ground where Ethan stood. But the moment the beams touched him, the air around him shimmered blue. Lyra stepped beside him, her light joining his. Their combined glow was brighter than the moon. The energy flowed between them like a heartbeat, strong and alive. The leader shouted, "You'll destroy everything." Ethan took Lyra's hand. "Maybe we'll save it instead." The storm began. Winds of energy exploded outward, tearing through the wreckage. The ground cracked, the sky split, and the world turned white. Every alien soldier vanished in the storm, their armor melting into dust. Ethan and Lyra stood at the center, surrounded by blinding light. Their bodies began to fade, not in pain, but in peace. Lyra looked up at him. "Are we dying?" Ethan shook his head slowly, smiling. "No, we're becoming something else." She pressed her forehead to his chest. "I don't want to lose you." "You won't," he whispered. "Not really. Wherever light goes, I'll be there." The light around them pulsed one last time, then burst, sweeping across the desert like a wave. When the light faded, the desert was quiet again. The wreckage was gone. The sand was smooth, glowing faintly blue under the dawn. A group of human rescuers arrived hours later. They found no soldiers, no ships, only a small silver cube lying in the center of the crater. When they touched it, it opened, showing a soft hologram, a little girl with silver eyes holding a man's hand, and inside the cube, 2 words were engraved in alien and human script, one promise. Years later, when the stars shone bright again, a new voice whispered across the winds of the desert, a small, gentle voice that sounded almost human. "Daddy?" And somewhere beyond the stars a warm voice answered, "Always." Morning came quiet over the desert. The sand no longer burned, the sky no longer bled. Only soft wind moved, carrying the scent of dust and peace. Years had passed since the storm of light swallowed Outpost 47. The world had rebuilt itself slowly. New cities, new skies, new dreams. People still told stories of that night, the night when heaven itself seemed to fall. But no one truly knew what happened. Except her, Lyra. She looked human now. Her silver eyes had faded to a soft gray. Her hair, once glowing white, had turned pale gold under the sun. She walked barefoot across the sand, her small feet leaving faint trails of light that faded behind her. In her hand, she carried a little cube, the same one she once held when she first met him. Her voice was quiet as she spoke to the wind. "It's been 20 years, Daddy." The desert didn't answer, but she smiled anyway. She could still feel him, in the air, in the warmth of sunlight, in every heartbeat of the world. People had started calling her the Star Child. Some said she was a myth. Others said she was a miracle. A being who ended a war and brought peace between humans and the remnants of the alien race. But Lyra never cared for the stories. She only cared for one truth. He had kept his promise. When humanity found the silver cube buried in the sand, it wasn't just a machine. It was a seed. From it grew the first energy field that powered both human and alien technology. It united what war had once divided. They named the new alliance Project Cross, and at its center stood a statue, a man holding a small child, both looking up at the stars. The plaque beneath read, "Ethan Cross, the father who bridged two worlds." Every time Lyra stood before it, she felt his voice whisper inside her heart, the same gentle warmth she remembered from long ago. "Keep living, kid. That's all I ever wanted." That evening, Lyra walked to the old desert crater, now a peaceful oasis of crystal sand and glowing water. The moonlight reflected softly, turning the place into a mirror of the sky. She sat by the edge and opened the cube. It glowed faintly, and a hologram flickered to life. Ethan smiling that same tired, kind smile. "I told you I'd always find you," the recording said. His voice was rough, familiar, full of love. "If you're hearing this, you made it. And that means I did too." Lyra bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know where I am now," the voice continued. "Maybe I'm light. Maybe I'm just dust. But wherever I am, know this. You gave me something I thought I'd never feel again. You made me a father. You gave me a reason to believe." The message paused, then softer. "One day someone will look up at the stars and ask what love means. When they do, I hope they see you, Lyra. Because love isn't about blood or birth. It's about a promise that doesn't die." The cube dimmed. Silence returned. Lyra pressed it against her heart. "I still miss you," she whispered. A soft breeze touched her cheek. Warm, gentle, familiar. For a moment, she thought she heard his voice again, drifting through the wind. "Hey, kiddo. Look at you. You did it." Lyra smiled through her tears. "I kept your promise, Daddy." The wind grew stronger, swirling the sand around her. Tiny blue sparks rose into the night sky, forming shapes. Stars, then a faint outline of a man, tall and proud, reaching out his hand. Lyra stood. She reached back. Their fingers never touched, but the light between them glowed brighter. "Daddy," she whispered, and from the stars came the answer. Soft, warm and eternal, always. That night, two lights appeared in the heavens. One bright blue, one golden white, moving side by side among the stars. Children across the world would point to them and ask, "What are those?" And the elders would smile and say, "That's the story of the man who fell from the sky to protect his daughter. The day a human heart became stronger than war." Lyra looked up one last time, her eyes glowing faintly again. "One day," she said softly, "they'll understand." Then she turned toward the horizon, walking into the sunrise, her figure fading into light. Not human, not alien, but something beyond both, a new beginning. And above, two stars still shone, forever whispering one word across time and space, "Daddy."